Welcome to Glowing Success. My name is Heidi and I am your host. This podcast is for beauty entrepreneurs. Join me weekly as we dive into the beauty industry's ins and outs, from business strategies, top-selling services, and taboo topics. I will be interviewing industry leaders with empowering stories and game-changing insights. Let's illuminate your path to success together. Let's jump into this next episode. I am so excited about my interview today. I am going to be interviewing Karla. She is a director of education with Nano 360. We are going to be talking about anything when it comes to microneedling, nanoneedling, microchanneling, and all the differences. And you're going to be learning about all of those things. So without further ado, here goes this episode. Welcome back to Glowing Success. I'm so excited for the interview today, you guys. I have Karla. She is a director of education with Nano 360, and we are going to be talking about everything when it comes to nanoneedling versus microneedling, nano channeling, all of the verbiage that you see online when it comes to this service. But without further ado, thank you, Karla, for joining me today.
Hi, Heidi. I'm so excited to be here on your podcast today.
Yay!
Yeah.
Well, the guests don't know who you are and don't probably know, maybe even some of the guests might not know even about NanoStamp 360. If you could give the guests a little bit of information about yourself or even about that company, that would be great.
Yes, of course. So I'm Karla Barrick. I have had a little over 20 years of experience in the industry, health and beauty industry. I am a licensed cosmetologist. I am a permanent makeup artist, aesthetic nurse, and business coach, and also an educator. And I have been in many of the shoes of skincare providers out there. I have been a salon owner. I've been an independent contractor, studio owner, an employee, and all of that. So I've done all of those things in this industry. And yeah, so I am an educator for 360 Aesthetic Devices, which is the parent company of NanoStamp 360. And I love talking to estheticians every single day. And the topic we have today is one that I am constantly having conversations with a lot of people about because there is so much confusion.
Yeah, I agree. And for rightful reasons, right? Because when so many different words get thrown around, and also maybe obviously these are different a little bit, these treatments are. So maybe let's talk about that. So let's talk about, I know we had mentioned nano channeling, nano needling, and the differences of that between micro needling. So a lot of people in the industry, whether you're a veteran in the industry like we are, or if you're just joining the industry, or maybe you're just thinking about adding this service in, you've probably seen micro needling out there a lot. Even people have thrown out like other name brands that are out there. And so how would you describe nano needling or nano channeling or micro channeling as something different than maybe what a person is formally introduced as micro needling?
So, great question. So, as far as like the nano channeling, so I always hear nano channeling, nano needling, nano infusion.
Hmm.
Nano itself is very different from like a micro channeling or micro needling. If we're talking about true nano,
Hmm.
uh, so I think the terms get kind of confusing because it depends on who you're talking to, whether it's a manufacturer, a salesperson, another esthetician. Sometimes the terms kind of get um, they're used in different ways depending on situation, right? So
Okay. Yeah.
yes, so true nano does not have needles. So when you say nano needling and someone's actually referring to true nano, it gets confusing because the term needle is in there, which is more invasive or minimally invasive, but it's still needles.
Yep.
So true nano, when we're talking about nano infusion or true nano tips, they're not needles at all. They don't look like needles. They're not plastic needles or metal needles or anything like that.
Yep.
What they look like is a microchip. And it's if you were to look at this under a microscope, you'd actually see microscopic cones or pyramids, but not needles. like I said, not any form of needle.
Yep.
And what nano infusion or true nano would do is it gently exfoliates the skin while increasing your product absorption. So depending on what you're using, right? So you can use a nano infusion in your facials. You can use it to infuse those serums during your facial. Sometimes you can use them with peels as well, and it helps to really give a boost to the peels that you're using. But there's technically shouldn't be any needles in there. I
Right.
would say sometimes when people say nano needling, they're also referring to a micro needling or a micro channeling. So the nano needling, I say, can go either way depending on who you're talking to.
Yep.
I guess same with nano channeling, but true nano is non-invasive, no needles of any kind on that.
I really like that because actually I feel like for some client bases, a nano approach rather than a needle approach might be better and might give them better results. It sounds to me like so I have more experience with microneedling. So personally, professionally, I'm very familiar with that. So I'm not very familiar with nano. So I'm love. Thank you for educating all of us, including myself, on that. But it really sounds like the inflammation factor is obviously going to be different. It sounds like nano might actually even have a different healing time. And it really sounds like it's probably geared for, maybe a very specific demographic. What do you think?
Yes. So now it's so versatile, really having the nano is so versatile because, as I mentioned, you can use it with serums, you can use it with peels. The downtime on that is going to depend really largely on what you're using, right? If it's a serum, very minimal downtime versus a peel, whatever the downtime is with your peel would be the downtime for that nano infusion treatment. It's also great because it's another treatment that you can do in between your microneedling or your microchanneling. So it doesn't necessarily replace one or the other, but for those estheticians that can only do nano, don't discount it. Sometimes I think estheticians will discount it because it's not invasive enough or, things like that. But I have seen really amazing results with just nano infusion, not even with peels, just doing the nano infusion. So it is another modality, in our toolbox. And for those who can't do any type of needling, it is a great alternative. And for those who can needle, it's a great complementary treatment to that because it adds another service that your microneedling clients can do in between those treatments. And when you can increase their frequency of visit, you need less new clients to fill your books. It keeps you busier, and your clients are going to be happier because they're seeing more benefit in their skin by being able to do a variety of treatments. So it's like I said, it doesn't replace necessarily your microneedling or microchanneling, but it is a great complement to that. And then for those who can only nano infuse, you can get creative with that by nano infusing your peels to give you a little bit more of a boost than just a regular nano infusion with serums.
That's amazing. And it sounds to me like I like that you said you can use it kind of like a maintenance tool and you can use it obviously as the main treatment. This is really eye-opening.
Yes.
I love this. Now you make me want to get a nano treatment so badly.
You know what? And the other thing I love using the nano for is sometimes there's clients that they're curious about your microneedling or your microchanneling, but they're a little hesitant or worried about pain and things like that.
Yep.
This is when I will use the nano infusion as okay, if you're not quite ready, let's do a nano infusion.
Yeah.
See how it goes. Different treatment, but it's kind of like a way for me to get them in the door, get them
Yes.
to start seeing the change in their skin. And then, once they're seeing the benefits, I'm like, well, are you ready to move on to the next thing?
Yeah. And that's amazing because sometimes it is just about inviting the client in and having those like the smaller barrier to entry services, right? And I think once that introduction is made and they trust you, they're willing to do so much more, whether it be purchasing more products from you or advancing to the next treatment that's going to give them that desired result. Now, when we comes to actual needling, how do you find that maybe micro channeling is a little bit different than micro needling?
So I always say they're for me, they're under like the same umbrella. They're both
Right.
collagen induction.
Yep.
right? They both are collagen induction. Um, Microneedling has been around for a very long time. I
Yep.
used to microneedle before I switched over to microchanneling, and microneedling, it's been proven, over and over again to work.
Yep.
Um, where microchanneling comes in, so for me, the big difference, microneedling, microchanneling, for me, the big difference is going to be stamping technique versus gliding technique with microneedling,
Yes.
and typically shallower depth. Now,
Yeah.
can you microchannel with your microneedling device? Sure, you can. Uh, it might take a little bit longer because the tip sizes are usually smaller when microneedling. Microchanneling devices will have a larger tip because you're using the stamping motion. So
Yep.
um, while you can stamp with your microneedling, if you find that you are primarily stamping, for me it would make more sense to have an actual microchanneling device.
Yeah. Because it's used correctly then, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I have found in my own practice and just my own years I've even doing microneedling, not every client you're going to want to go deeper, right? And obviously every state and every area has a different, directive when it comes to how deep you can go for your needle length and so forth. But, I find that the shallower client, the shallower that you go with your needles and how you actually do it, it really gives people sometimes that better result. And, the only times I think a deeper result sometimes is needed is my clients that have really deep pocking or a lot of acne scarring to the point where it's really, really, really deep.
Yeah.
Whereas my clients that mostly come in that are looking for microneedling are generally people for anti-aging, right? So they have fine lines, wrinkles, maybe a little bit of shallower acne scarring and just overall glowing appearance. They just want to find something that's going to give them that more youthful glow. So I think micro channeling really fits within that scope, obviously, but it also is going to give your client that desired result. You don't necessarily have to go dive into the pool and go really deep to give people results because actually that's been proven in the last like 5 years. There's been a lot more research on that of like, hey, do we really need to be going deep to get that induction and to get that collagen and to, really help all of those results?
Right. Absolutely. I was actually just going to touch on what recent studies, like within the last five
Yeah.
years or so. So,
Yep.
when I started with like microneedling, I don't even know, 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thought was always like, we have to be really aggressive. We have to go deeper.
Right.
We have to be bloody, all of that.
Yep.
And yeah, what we know now from recent studies, and like I said, recent being about 5 years or, within the last 5 years or so, is
Yep.
we actually don't have to be as aggressive as we thought we did. We don't have to go as deep as we thought we did.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
you mentioned sometimes when you're going shallower that your clients are seeing better results, and really that's
Mhm.
because of the amount of inflammation. We're able to
Yes.
control the amount of inflammation.
Yep.
Uh, so what we know now is our goal is really to stimulate, not inflame the skin. And when you are able to control the inflammation, you actually will yield better results.
Yes.
Um,
I
yeah.
have found that just from my own practice. I have found that, me personally too, I suffer from cystic acne. And I will say, like, I'm a person that if you try to do anything deeper or more aggressive on my skin, that inflammation takes over to the point where I don't get hardly any results. So I know this is true for a lot of people and they don't have to have cystic acne like myself. But I will say, like, even my clients, older skin, let's say I have a client that's in their late 60s, early 70s, you're not going to want to cause a lot of inflammation. Their body can't handle it. But I find that's true for every skin, like, so even before the research started coming out and everything started coming to surface, I was actually gradually going to a lighter kind of application and a less depth, of needle
Yeah.
because I just found it gave my clients a better result and that, like you said, that inflammation really stops actually the body from progressing through that healing process. And your body has to heal that inflammation on top of the damage that we're causing, which essentially that's how all of this works is we're causing a certain amount of damage to the skin for your body to heal it. So I think this is great. And that's why I wanted to talk about this on this episode, because I was like, there's so much words being tossed around on the internet. There's so much
Right.
information out there, good and bad, right? Like the information out there is
For sure.
great, but like there is so much information out there that it can get really confusing. And I think having a little bit of direction sometimes and hearing other people's practice results and having other people's true results from their clients and just hearing about all these things, it really solidifies that information of being like, okay, like this is the way I want to take this, and I know my clients are going to love it, because after all, when your clients come in and want this service, you guys, they're wanting results, right? And I know that through training where you go through all of the information necessary. Of course, you have to tell your client like a series of treatments is still needed. I'm guessing that's true for channeling as well.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's much the same as microneedling, right?
Okay.
All the common
Right.
principles of that, as far as like healing, skin rejuven, the 28-day
Yes.
cycle and
Yes.
treatment
Okay.
frequency. It's going to be the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because anatomy doesn't change.
Right. Right.
I always tell
Yeah.
people like when you're reaching for straws, let's say your brain is just having, a moment and you're not knowing what to tell your client or so forth, or even what to say to them to go forward with anything. I always reference back to anatomy. Your skin is always going to work the same way, right? We're always going to produce the cells the same way. Your body is going to respond to inflammation in a very similar way or the same way. So like, I think when it comes to understanding when new services come on the market or new services are kind of coming about, and they probably have been around for a long time, we're just hearing about them. Think about anatomy and think about how that affects the skin and how it really is being performed and why the results are happening the way they are. And so that's always kind of how I debunk things or how I determine if something's like a trend or, just a flashy word or a marketing tactic, and I think how we've said, nanoing is sticking around, channeling is sticking around, like microneedling rightfully so is sticking around. So you really have to decide in your practice what is the best fit. But I will say, if you've been offering microneedling for a while, maybe look into offering nanoing, maybe look into offering channeling instead of, and see if it's a better fit for your client base.
Definitely.
you know
Yeah, definitely. I think in this industry, we have to always, not necessarily trends, but we always have to be educating ourselves and making sure that we are staying on top of treatments and modalities that are going to give our clients the best outcome, because that's,
yeah.
especially these days, like clients want everything overnight, right? It's that
Yes.
Amazon mentality.
Yes.
And while microneedling, microchanneling can do some amazing things for the skin, it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
So
Nope.
yes.
And
So
setting those expectations is so important. Like I tell, especially when I'm doing business coaching of any kind, whether it be with an esthetician or other people just in the industry that are looking for a new thing. Like you have to always go into that consultation with the giving your clients proper expectations, right? And and sometimes walking the client through that process will set their expectations, but we can't tell them things that are not going to happen. So I always tell people like you didn't happen to have that sun damage happen overnight, did you? Like it happened over time, or those fine lines, wrinkles, they happened over time. So it's not going to be a one and done type service. So we as service providers know this, but it is very important when you're talking about these types of services to really set those expectations and really tell the client what to expect, because then they can follow you through the treatment, right? Like then you're holding their hand through everything and you're not, you know, leaving them in the dark with information they don't know. So Karla, how do you find that people kind of find out about these topics? So, obviously you're a director of education, so you go around and you meet people, you train them, how do you find that people kind of come through and find you and really center on this topic and find more information about it?
I with technology these days, a lot of this is online.
Right.
The professional forums, things like that. We are also at a lot of the trade shows, so classes there, and meeting a lot of new estheticians or estheticians coming out of school.
Yep.
That's usually when a lot of these conversations come up.
Yep.
Um, I actually, sorry, I'm going to go back a little bit. You were talking
No,
about
that's right.
consultation and managing expectations. I love that
Yeah.
because I'm always emphasizing how the consultation is really the most important part of their visit.
Yes.
Um, but on top of that, so we were talking about microneedling, microchanneling, proven technologies, proven modalities. But I also want to emphasize a large part of this, no matter what device you're using, no matter what technique or microchanneling, microneedling, nano infusion, nanochanneling, whatever it is you're doing, a large part of this, it's that 80-20 rule.
Yep.
So for those of you that don't know that, right, it's 80% is what they do at home, 20% is what we do in our treatment room.
Yes.
Your clients, yeah, your clients are home more than they are with us in that treatment room. So it's really making sure that they are set up for success at home as well. You can't just do a
Yes.
professional treatment and send them home with nothing or, not check in on
Yes.
what they're using at home.
Yeah,
So,
especially, gentle products, obviously, especially even serums. This is a really good time to sell your client on a serum they can start, using maybe shortly after they've healed or even between. I mean, there's so much at home that clients can do. And I think that's great that you brought that up because this is something I talk about often of how to cater to the client, in your consultation. But a lot of people are always interested in how do I upsell a service or how do I upsell retail while I'm doing my consultation or while I'm doing my treatment. And this is a perfect time, you guys. So when it comes to offering services, we always have to be thinking about how can I have this client take care of themselves at home easily? How can I ensure that they're going to get these results that they're desiring? And these are, things that you're always thinking about. But this service is great for upsells, and I don't know if you you agree, but
yeah.
I think, like you were mentioning, like, this is a great time to mention products that you want them to use because this is a service they're investing their time and effort and money in, right?
Absolutely. Yes. So, like for me, I know a lot of, I've met a lot of estheticians that are very hesitant to recommend products at home or things like that because they don't want to sell, right? So
Right.
it's you can't think of it as selling because what it really is it's protecting the investment that they're making in their skin, that investment of them coming to you for these professional treatments.
Yep.
It's their maintenance at home that supports those professional treatments you're doing. So don't think of it as selling.
Yep.
For me, in that consultation, I emphasize,
Yeah.
yes, we're going to do this. It's going to do this. And at home, you need to be using X, X, and X because
Yes.
it's going to support that.
Yes.
So,
My one trick, and I don't know if you have tricks, but my trick to selling retail is generally when they come in for consultation, let's say it's their first appointment, you want the client to talk as much as possible. And this is my technique. I don't know if this can be true a lot, but
yes,
this is how I
absolutely.
so I ask a lot of open-ended questions, right? And we're gearing this all towards maybe the service that they booked or what they want to talk about. And let's say they just booked a consultation that day. You really obviously want to gear it towards what that client originally booked, originally, But you want to ask open-ended questions, and the more you ask open-ended questions, the more that client's going to inform you things about themselves, right? So one question is what do you do at home? What is your skin going through on a daily basis at home? I really want to know what are you using? What products are you using? And let's be very specific because a lot of clients when they fill out those forms, let's say you have your consultation forms, which everybody should have one of those. It helps you so much to have consultation forms, whether they filled it out online or in person doesn't matter, but it's just as long as you're collecting information. But when you go through that form, I want them to be specific. I want you to share that brand if you can. I want you to share how often you're using it. I want you to, give me as much information as possible. So let's say you have a client that is using a cleanser. They're doing the whole shabam, right? They are toning. They're using exfoliator a couple times a week. They're doing all the things. They're using SPF. So if you see a client is doing all the things that, you see they're doing a full regimen, they really like, buying products, they really like trying things. Maybe even in the consultation, they mentioned to you that they've tried a couple different lines. So instantly in my head, I know I can definitely switch them over to using something that I'm selling or something that I recommend if that's what you feel. And and we can, that's a whole nother conversation, but but
Yeah.
generally we want them to get on, products that you know very well or you're selling in your spa just because you know the results they're going to get from them. But you know already that they're willing to follow a regimen. So at that point, it's up to you to really guide those conversations, maybe in the next appointment or the appointments after, of how you can get them to use the products that you're talking about or slowly add them in. Now, if somebody's like coming in and they're like, I just use a cleanser and a moisturizer. Now,
Yeah.
if you want results, and this is where I lean towards results, and this is where I lean towards what are they trying to achieve? And that's where the open ended questions for me kind of lead. So I will say if somebody's struggling with even adding on services or adding on retail, always think about those open-ended questions. Always think about that consultation of how much information you can get out of them so you can better understand who they are, what they're wanting from that appointment, what they're wanting from future appointments, and so forth. What do you think?
Absolutely. I love the topic of consultation is like one of my favorite things to talk about. I
Me
actually have
too.
a series that I'm going to be doing on consultations alone because that's a
Love
huge
it.
topic. But
Yes.
definitely agree with you on all of that. I always tell the customers that I support with NanoStamp 360, I always tell them when you're doing your consultation, listen more than you're speaking
Yes.
and get as much info. Those open-ended questions are key. Listen
Right.
more than you're speaking before you even recommend and suggest things because you need to have their
Yep.
picture of what their concerns are and all of that before you even recommend something that's going to have value for the customer.
Yep.
So,
I
yeah.
agree because the more you can get to know your client, the better you can help them and better you can understand what they're willing to do and how to guide them, right? Because if we don't know much about somebody, you don't know what they're willing to spend, you don't know what they're willing to do. So I think when you're going through this journey, you guys, and even deciding if you want to add microchanneling, nano infusion, nano needling, microneedling, whatever you want to add, think about that. Think about your client base that you have right now or the client base that you want to achieve, maybe your ideal client that you want to bring in, and think about the conversations that you can start having with them. So let's say you're going to train with Karla and you are going to bring this service in, but you're getting really excited about it and you want to get your clients excited about it. So even before you've trained, I will start talking about a service, especially if I know I'm going to be training on a certain date. Like if I've already purchased my training and I'm just waiting for that date to come about or what have you, I get my current clients excited about it. I start talking about it. I start having open-ended conversations about it, or I'll like tell them like, "Hey, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm gonna be adding this in." And those are really good ways you can get excited, you guys. Now, Karla, let's say a listener is on, how does the training normally go with you and the company you work with?
So with NanoStem 360, our training, it starts with our online training. We have a comprehensive online training portal which covers everything. So if you've never done microneedling, microchanneling, any of those things,
Hmm.
it will start from everything from the supplies that you would need, setting up your tray, the actual treatments, protocols, all of that. And then at the end of that online training, when you've completed that, we have live Zoom sessions that you are welcome to join in. And then I also offer specific topics like business building topics or things like that. As I mentioned, that consultation is part of the business building series. So things like that to not only teach you how to do the treatment, but also help you with being able to sell the treatments and build your business around the new treatments that you are offering.
Yeah, which is huge because, I have trained with a lot of companies over the years, whether it be a service company or a product company, and some companies do a really great job at about educating you about everything to do with the service or product, but they don't really give a lot of assistance when it comes to the other parts. And let's say you're kind of a newer business owner, or let's say you're kind of stuck in a rut, like that information that you guys are giving is huge. I mean, you are really helping your accounts and your customers and your clients and the trainees like to a whole nother level. That's amazing.
Yes. So this is the one thing I do want to share is, when you're choosing a device or company to go with, some things to consider, right? So
Yeah.
safety is for me number one, safety on your device. So backflow is a huge one with microchanneling, microneedling, whatever
Yes.
type of device you're looking at. Backflow is when fluids can come in from the front of your device, like the tip, the needles into your device.
Yep.
So making sure that there's no backflow issues. That's key, right? Because you want
Yep.
to keep your clients safe,
Yep.
and safety is always first. And then the next thing you want to know is who is supporting you.
Yeah.
So while there are salespeople out there that aren't skincare professionals or don't have a skincare background, that's totally fine, right? But is there someone else accessible to you when you do have specific skincare concerns or specific client concern? Who is going to be supporting you?
Huge.
So Yeah, so that is really, really huge, is making sure that you are going to get that support and who is supporting you. Because like I said, anyone can teach you how to use the device they're selling, right? But when you come into actual specific skincare issues or specific things that you're seeing in your treatment room, you want to make sure that the person that's supporting you is educated in that and knowledgeable in that.
Yeah, and you can reach them.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and that they are accessible.
Yes.
So, yes,
That's
so
huge
that's
because everybody needs support. So when you get out there and you start using the machine and you start adding something new to your practice, you guys, like you are going to have days where you're going to have to email support or you're going to have questions come up. And that's just part of learning and that's just part of adding something new because you are going to have all different array of clients, right? Different
right.
problems are going to come up, different, I'm talking about skin problems, but different things like that. Like, and so it's important to have that support. And I'm really excited that you guys offer that because I do think that that's something that's somewhat missing in our industry of like, it's okay, we sold it, we trained you on it, bye bye, and it's like, oh gosh, like I want to feel like the company that I spent time and effort on and money on is going to give me that support in the future. Because if you feel supported, you are going to ask questions, you're going to be continuously learning, you are going to give a better treatment to your clients, you're going to have better results, and it is going to help you just level up when it comes to your business.
Definitely,
That's
definitely.
amazing. Well, Carla, we've talked about so much. I hope the listeners fully understand what a nano is compared to what microneedling is, compared to what channeling is. And, Carla, if they want to train with you on NanoStamp 360, where can they find you? And obviously we went over to the training a little bit of like how it's online, but where can they find you online or where can they, find more information about this?
Definitely. So, if you want to reach out to me directly on the Instagram, my Instagram is Injections by Karla, and that's Karla with a K. And then for NanoStamp, we are 360 Aesthetic Devices, and that's aesthetic with an AE. So 360 AESTHETICS devices. It's long, I know.
That's all right.
And on either of those Instagrams, if you click on the bio, there is a link there where you can put in your info, and I'm happy to send you more information on the device. And training with NanoStamp 360, you will get consistent training no matter who you purchase your device from. You will be supported by the company as a whole, not just your sales rep or anything like that.
Nice.
And for us, that is something really important. Our team is primarily um, composed of skincare professionals because
That's
the
amazing.
company, our idea is really, it's by professionals for professionals. And,
Yep.
I find it's better now with social media and the forums, but in the time I've been in this industry, I find sometimes, especially if you're a solo provider,
Oh,
it's hard to get someone to bounce ideas of, or sometimes people
yeah.
don't want to share,
It can be very
So
lonely. Yeah.
absolutely. It's a little different. Maybe if you work in a spa and you have other estheticians that you might be able to, ask a question or specific, like, hey, I have someone in my room, what do you think? But when you're by yourself, sometimes it can be really lonely. And, who do you ask?
Right.
You know?
I love that you guys offer that support. Well, if you're listening, that is a lot of information, but I will also have everything in the show notes. You can click on the link there as well. Other than that, Carla, thank you for joining me today. It's been so much fun chatting with you.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed this.
All right. I hope you liked that episode and found something useful or a tip that you can use immediately. If you are wanting more marketing tips, business tips, or anything like that, I have a lot of resources on my website. So I have PDFs that you can download for free. So look in your show notes. There should be a link in the show notes that you can click on and it'll take you right to my coaching website. And thanks for listening.